Is your government considering designated the Revolutionary Guard a terrorist entity?
Well, before I answer that question, let me just first say how much our hearts go out, not only to the Canadians who were killed on PS 752 and their families who have suffered an incalculable loss, but also to the people of Iran who are now protesting against their murderous government. To your question specifically, no option is off the table. The Prime Minister has made very clear when he announced, and Minister Jali had announced the further sanctions that we've taken this week, that there are going to be further consequences to what's going on in Iran now and what, of course, happened to Canadians in 2020. I've met with families of flight PS 752. I participated in the rallies in Montreal and here in Ottawa. I am personally committed, and I know this government is very much committed to making sure that justice is done and that people don't have to fear this murderous regime anymore.
So, Michael Chong, let me ask you, what would be the implications of designated the Iran Revolutionary Guard a terrorist entity, because it is so connected to the regime?
That's a great question. Well, what it would mean is that senior officers of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps could not come to Canada and freely operate with impunity, threatening members of our Persian community here.
But do we know that this is what is happening? Do we have facts? Do we know for sure that, we need to back these things with facts?
Yes, so we know that senior members of the Iranian military have been reported by media to be here in the GTA and other parts of the country in recent years. There have also been credible reports of money being laundered here by senior members of the military here in Canada. So that's why we've been calling for the IRGC to be listed as a terrorist organization. But this government's priorities are all upside down. Not only are they refusing to list the IRGC and allowing officers of that organization to operate with impunity here in Canada, they've also failed to address things, for example, like recent reports in the Globe and Mail that Chinese police officers are operating here from the People's Republic of China with 3 illegally established police stations in the GTA. And yet the government has failed to act. And at the same time as all this is going on, they're refusing to let officers, U.S. officers from Homeland Security, come to Canada to staff Nexus offices so that we can reopen the border and allow Canadians to travel on their Nexus passes, even though we have an agreement with the United States and they're our closest allies. So this government's priorities on who gets into this country and who doesn't, what gets listed as a terrorist entity and what doesn't, are all upside down.
I actually would love to talk about that Nexus story, but unfortunately, I do agree with you. There's some incongruity there. But Heather, I want to ask you, so, as in Afghanistan, Canada doesn't really have a presence anymore. Iran, the same thing. When that plane was shot down, we had to rely on other countries to help us out. And that happens in a lot of countries with our embassies that have either shut down or never reopened. Why would we want to make our relationship with Iran even, more tense and not be able then on the ground or to have a presence in that country? Which this is what diplomacy is all about. It's not just to make nice with the nice guys. It's also to have relations with people that are more difficult.
Yeah, there is a difference there, though. There is no way that Canada should be making nice with the IRGC in any way. They are a murderous regime. There is no doubt. And what I do see is I hear you. I mean, the government has done nothing to make sure that Canadian organizations can work in Afghanistan. We have 23 million people in Afghanistan that are starving to death, and Canadian organizations can't get in there. What we're seeing in Iran, it makes me enraged. It's been 1,000 days, and the government has not done the bare minimum. It took the death of a 22-year-old girl to get them to bring sanctions forward.
Would not a presence have helped in the investigation of the downing of that plane if Canada had a presence there? I'm not saying you have to make nice and exchange niceties, but if you have a presence, if you have eyes on the ground and ears on the ground, then your investigation becomes a little bit more little bit easier?
To be honest, I think that's a question for Mr. Chong, because it was his government that took that out. You know, I do believe that the government of Canada, the government we have right now, the Liberal government, needs to do more. You know, why have we not been pushing for an ICC and an ICAO investigation? Why have we not put more than 25 people on that sanction list? And frankly, our sanctions, even with Ukraine, I don't see them being adequate. Do we know, do parliamentarians know that they are being enforced? You can name anyone you want. If you're not going to enforce it, if you're not going to make sure that those people that are responsible for the murder of women in Iran are not held accountable, if you don't make sure that's happening, it doesn't matter who you put on the list.
Let me get Greg Fergus to answer this, because there was a motion in the House. Your party voted in favor of it, and so why not designate it? Why you say everything's on the table? This is on the table. Is this not a good time to do that?
More than everything's on the table, a lot of work has been done, and you won't hear this from my colleagues, but I will mention the things that have been done. First of all, with regard to ICAO, we are certainly pursuing that option. The ICAO meeting is coming up at the end of the month. Canada has led an international effort, along with our allies from the UK, from Ukraine, as well as from Sweden, to making sure that we get moving on this one. We are going to win our case. That was a solemn promise that the Prime Minister had made. There are ways to do that. They're not talking about the sanctions which we put on the top leadership of Iran and members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, designating the IRGC Quds Force as a terrorist entity, making sure that's that military branch, for your listeners who don't know. That's a military branch of the government, making sure that they have been sanctioned, individuals have been sanctioned. Canada cannot and will not be a safe haven for these people to come to Canada or their relatives to launder their money in this country. These are firm steps that we're taking, and further steps are being considered.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, but I want to hear from both of you. You're the opposition. What should the government do? Okay, sanctions are not enough, so what?
Quite simply, they should list the IRGC as a terrorist entity under the Criminal Code of Canada. On January 8th of 2020, it was the IRGC that shot down a civilian airliner containing 55 Canadian citizens, and 30 Canadian residents. There has been no accountability for the IRGC shooting down that airliner that killed all those Canadians. And it wasn't high-ranking officers that shot down that airliner. It was regular members of the IRGC that shot it down, and that's why they should be listed.
And I just have a few seconds left.
Of course. Ultimately, you know what? We're tired of hearing the government say everything's on the table. Do things. Do actions. Do the things. Don't tell us that they're on the table. It's been 1,000 days.
Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about this again, and I'm sure we're going to hear about it in the House. Greg Fergus, I know we were having audio issues. Michael Chong, Heather McPherson, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.